Hi, my name is Dr. Christine Bueller, and today I'm going to make you cry. Now don't worry, I'm not a psychopath. I'm talking about tears of joy. That's because in the following brief video presentation, you're going to discover the remarkable story of how one of the world's top medical researchers accidentally stumbled onto a shockingly simple but 100% effective way to permanently eliminate the herpes virus from the human body. Based on a brand new breakthrough in medical research, something the $60 billion a year pharmaceutical industry is desperate to keep hidden from you. Even more remarkable, the medical advancement that I'm going to share with you today has a documented 100% success rate in clinical university-based studies. It takes less than 3 weeks to complete, works for both HSV-1 and HSV-2, requires 0 expensive side effect-filled medications, and will cost you less than $100 total to perform. Imagine, in just 21 days from now, you could be completely free from the gnawing shame and constant fear that come from always hiding your dirty little secret from the world. You'll never have to worry about telling the one that you like and who likes you back that you're damaged goods, that you can never be intimate with him or her. You'll never have to feel exposed and terrified by another humiliating outbreak, or experience the itching, burning, and blistering that go along with one. If it sounds too good to be true, don't worry, I completely understand. In fact, I would have thought the same thing if I hadn't been part of the research team that discovered this cure, or if I hadn't personally used this natural treatment to completely destroy every single trace of the herpes simplex virus in my body in less than a month. All I ask is that you keep an open mind as you watch this short video, because in the next 5 minutes, I will not only give you the scientific and medical proof as to why this breakthrough treatment method works, I'll even tell you how to start using it today so that you get a countdown timer to being 100% herpes-free in just 21 days from now. Just like 27,442 other women and men before you have already done. People like Janet Hawley from Des Moines, Iowa, who writes, "The worst day of my life was being told by my doctor that I had herpes type 2. It felt like I'd just received a life sentence. For the next 5 years, I lived in a state of constant depression because everything felt so hopeless. I am so incredibly fortunate that I found this website. I'm still in shock that the treatment protocol you shared with me in your presentation actually works. It seems so simple, and in a lot of ways, I guess it is simple. But the important thing is that I've been 100% herpes-free for a full 2 years now, and it's all thanks to you. You've given me my life back, and I'll be forever grateful." Janet Hawley, Iowa. And Emily Ruth of Canton, Ohio, who says, "When I first saw your presentation, I was extremely skeptical. If there was a way to permanently delete my herpes, why would I never have heard of it before? As I kept watching, however, and as you explained both how your treatment worked and the tragic truth about the pharmaceutical industry and their evil motives, it started to make sense. That's why I decided to go ahead and try your treatment method for myself, and thank God I did. 4 months ago, when my doctor looked at me in disbelief and told me that all my tests came back negative and that my HSV-1 seemed to be completely gone from my body, I literally could not stop crying tears of joy. Thank you for all the incredible work you're doing. You've saved my life." Emily Ruth, Ohio. And Denise Sayak of Seattle, Washington, who says, "I got diagnosed with herpes type 2 about 7 years ago when I was still in college and had a stupid one-night stand. I know a lot of girls will say this, but I swear I never did that sort of thing. I just made a mistake that one time, and suddenly it seemed like I was going to have to live with the consequences for the rest of my life. The worst part was feeling like I could never date guys again. After all, who wants to go out with a girl who has sores around her, you know what? But after a friend shared your video with me last year and I tried your protocol for myself, everything has changed. Not only was I able to remove all traces of the herpes virus from my system in less than 3 weeks, but I was also able to start dating again. I even met the man of my dreams. And I'm so blessed to write that just last week, in front of everyone in a crowded restaurant, he got down on one knee and proposed to me. You gave me back the chance to be happy and to experience true love. Now I want to help share this with the world. Thank you." Denise Sayak, Washington. If you're ready to join them and tens of thousands of others just like you, pay close attention because we're going to get started right this second. Okay, so like I mentioned, my name is Dr. Christine Bueller. I'm 35 years old and I work as a clinical researcher for one of the 5 highest rated medical colleges in the country. And one horrible morning about 5 years ago, while I was doing my residency at a leading medical research center, I awoke to what appeared to be a rash around my mouth. Well, I feel stupid saying this now, but at the time I thought I was having some sort of allergic reaction or a breakout or something. And while I did feel a little self-conscious when I noticed it, I headed into the medical lab like usual, thinking it wasn't too big of a deal. Almost from the second I walked through the door, however, the embarrassment started. Everyone was staring at me. I caught two girls who worked in the lab with me, who I thought were my friends, pointing and giggling from across the room. And suddenly I was humiliated as John, the young MD I had a crush on for more than 6 months, walked up to me and asked me point break, "What's going on around your mouth? It kind of looks like, well, it kind of looks like herpes." I wanted to cry when John said this, but only because I thought he was being stupid. How could I have gotten herpes? I'd only been all the way with a small handful of guys in my entire life. And in almost every single instance, that was when we were in a committed long-term relationship. So I forced myself to laugh right in John's face and to tell him that it was a funny joke, but that no, it was just an outbreak. That my skin was probably just reacting to something I ate. But while I was laughing on the outside, my mind started to race on the inside. Wait a second. There was Ryan, the last guy I'd been with. We dated for about 2 months before I let him go all the way with me, and as soon as we did, he stopped returning my phone calls or replying to my texts. Finally, after about my 20th message, he did text back saying he wasn't ready for a relationship, and that it was better if we didn't see each other anymore. I thought at the time that Ryan was just an asshole. But what if there was more to it than that? What if he was infected and had stopped talking to me because he didn't want me to know it was from him? What if he'd used me and left me to be damaged goods for life? As soon as my shift was finished, I ran across campus to visit my former professor, Dr. Ken Langwin. Now, I have to give you the quick background on Dr. Langwin. He's an expert in human pathology. He's had more than 150 academic papers published on viruses and diseases ranging from HIV to pancreatic cancer. He's widely considered to be the most authoritative researcher on sexually transmitted diseases in the country. And fortunately for me, at the time, his clinical lab was about 10 minutes walk from my own. As I entered Dr. Langwin's lab, I was again struck by that feeling of incredible embarrassment. This man had not just been my professor, but also a mentor, and I wanted to run away from him as fast as possible, rather than experience the shame of telling him that I thought I had an STD. But I had to know, and so I walked up to the professor, pointed to my mouth, and told him that I was afraid. Thankfully, Dr. Langwin didn't judge me or glare at me. Instead, he just listened sympathetically and told me that he could take a cell culture and that we could look at it together. I waited anxiously with my stomach in knots as the doctor looked through the microscope at the cell sample he'd taken. And then I felt my heart burst through my chest and drop to the floor as he told me the most terrible news I'd ever heard. "Christine," he said, "I don't know how to tell you this, and I wish I didn't have to, but these tests are positive not just for HSV1, but for HSV2 also. I'll run a blood analysis for you too, but I'm 99% sure the results will be the same. I'm really sorry." I threw up. Literally, I grabbed the wastebasket that was next to the lab table and hurled into it for about 2 minutes straight, while at the same time feeling the hot tears streaming down my face. All I could think of was what this meant. Having both oral and genital herpes? I mean, I hadn't noticed any outbreak down there, but I'd been so busy with my medical residency I barely had time to sleep, let alone monitor my body. But if what Dr. Langwin was saying was true, and I really did have both type 1 and type 2 herpes, my life was ruined. I would never meet the man of my dreams and have him fall in love with me. Even if I did find Mr. Perfect, and he did like me, it could never be. The second I had to tell him, "Sorry, Mr. Perfect, but I have not just one type of herpes, but 2 types of herpes," it would be over. It doesn't matter if you're the most beautiful woman in the world. The moment a guy knows you have herpes, he sees you as some kind of skank. And I'd never do that. I'd never tell him or any other guy who wanted to start dating me that I had genital and oral herpes, which meant I was going to be lonely for the rest of my life. And that's not to mention the embarrassment of outbreaks. I'd have to spend every single day in constant fear of another outbreak, of having to lie to friends, family, and coworkers every time those scabbing sores started appearing around my lips and mouth, or feel the secret and dirty shame of knowing I'd had an outbreak down there. People would look at me and think I was a slut, even though I'd only been with a few men, and had always used protection, and had never had a one-night stand in my life. My life was over, and I would be damaged goods until the day I died. I left Dr. Langwin's office with a prescription for Valtrex in hand and headed directly to the pharmacy. Then I went straight to my apartment, got into bed, and didn't leave again for 7 days. When the outbreak finally did go away, and I finally did return to work, I felt like everything was different. Even though my sores were gone and there was no sign of my herpes anywhere, it still felt like people knew. And when John and I were forced to work together, I felt like I couldn't even make eye contact with him anymore. Because while in the past I'd imagined us eventually dating, or being together long term, that was no longer a possibility. Well, the months continued to pass and I didn't have another outbreak, but the medication was starting to take its toll on me. The Valtrex made me feel constantly nauseated, like I was going to puke. So I switched to acyclovir. But that was even worse as I quickly started noticing that my hair was falling out in clumps. I researched Famvir, but found out it caused dizziness, drowsiness, and even kidney problems. And on top of all this, there was still the obvious but deeply frustrating fact that none of these medications actually cured the herpes virus. They simply masked the symptoms while making you sick. So once again, I paid a visit to Dr. Langwin's office. I hadn't spoken with him since he'd called to tell me that the blood test matched the cell culture, and it felt extremely embarrassing for me to go see him face to face again, as he was not only my professor, but also one of the few people in the world who knew my shameful secret. But despite that shame, I was desperate to know if there were any medications I could try that weren't plagued with side effects. Or better still, if he or anyone else in the country were any closer to finding a cure for the herpes virus. And so I walked through the door to his lab yet again, put on my best smile, and asked him to share the most recent research on the herpes simplex virus with me, to tell me anything at all that might suggest there was hope. Well, asking a man who has spent his entire life researching viruses to tell you about how one of them works is a lot like asking the musclehead at the gym to tell you about working out. Their eyes light up and they'll talk for hours. That was exactly the case with Dr. Langwin. But instead of being bored by what he had to say, I was absolutely fascinated. He had a way of explaining how the herpes virus works and why it's so hard to destroy that I'd never heard of before, even in medical school. And though I didn't know it yet, what Dr. Langwin was telling me would ultimately be the key to permanently deleting the herpes virus from my body, while helping 27,442 other women do the exact same thing. Here's how Dr. Langwin explained it to me. Your herpes outbreaks are basically warning signs. They're trying to tell you that your immune system has been compromised. Those warning signs are important because, as you probably already know, it's easy for your herpes to stay hidden for long periods of time, which means if you didn't have an initial outbreak, you would never know that you had the virus. In a lot of ways, having a herpes outbreak is similar to having a fever. Normally, a fever occurs because you've been infected by some sort of common virus, and your body raises its internal temperature both to warn you that you've been infected and to aid your immune system in fighting off the infected cells. Herpes is different from a common infection, however, meaning that even though your immune system is compromised, your body isn't naturally equipped to fight it. That's because once you've been infected with herpes, the virus burrows itself into your body and hides, just like a dirty rat will hide behind the walls of your home. Now, without getting too technical on you, let me quickly explain the science behind how the virus is able to hide from your immune system. The way it works is that herpes simplex encodes a protein called ICP47, or infected cell protein 47, in the body. This evil protein cloaks herpes from the immune system, which is what stops the immune system from being able to destroy it. That's also the reason why none of the herpes medications on the market are able to eliminate your herpes. All they can do is stop the virus from growing inside your body, but they can't destroy it because they don't even know where it's hiding. So in other words, using those medications to fight herpes is a lot like trying to use your fists to fight a ghost. It's physically impossible. Well, at first, hearing all of this from Dr. Langwin made me feel hopeless, just like you might feel hopeless right now. But as I sat there thinking about what he'd just said, I had an idea. Something that sounded incredibly simple, but that would eventually lead to a major medical breakthrough. Basically, my idea was this. If the reason medications can't destroy your herpes is because the virus is cloaked in your cells and hides from the immune system, couldn't you theoretically do something to unhide it and thereby allow your immune system to quickly target and destroy it? When I asked Dr. Langwin about this, he seemed surprised. He said that as unbelievable as it might sound, no one had ever asked him that question before, and that while it was theoretically possible, pretty much all academic research and all of the pharmaceutical companies had simply focused on suppressing the virus, not destroying it. That was completely unacceptable to me, and it made me mad. Why the hell was nobody pursuing this? Why the hell was no one looking for a cure? I mean, I'm smart, but I'm not a genius. Surely I wasn't the first person to think of this. So what gave? Well, I expressed these feelings to Dr. Langwin, albeit a little more gently, and he couldn't really give me a good answer. Which is why I submitted a transfer request that very same day. And 2 weeks later, I found myself assigned to work in Dr. Langwin's human pathology lab full-time. It felt sort of funny laying down the law to this man, who was one of the most respected experts on human disease and viruses in the world. But this was personal. It was about not having to feel like a victim for the rest of my life, or having to suffer from the humiliation of another outbreak. It was about taking back my freedom, the freedom to live life as I chose, to find the man of my dreams and have a loving relationship with him, without suffering from the fear of being rejected once he knew my secret. I more or less forced one of the most respected researchers and academics in the world to join me on this mission. I told him to think of the accolades, the awards, the fame that would result in him curing genital and oral herpes, two of the ugliest, most hated medical afflictions in the world. And fortunately, he agreed. So for the next 3 months, we spent 16 hours per day in his lab. We studied what seemed to stimulate the virus and what seemed to cause it to go dormant. We rigorously tested hundreds of different ways to uncloak the virus, searching for a way to unbind the ICP47 from the cells so that it was no longer hidden from the immune system. And on the 94th day of testing, we finally made our first breakthrough. We discovered that there was a certain combination of organic chemical compounds that seemed to act as a hyperstimulator. In other words, by adding these compounds to the body in a very specific dosage and span of time, we could separate the ICP47 proteins from the nerve cells, thus allowing the immune system to attack them. It was a huge accomplishment, and that night I hardly slept at all because I was so filled with hope. But over the next 2 weeks of additional testing, it quickly became clear that the battle was still only half won. That's because even though we were able to expose the infected cell protein to the immune system, and the immune system did attack it, the virus remained too strong and the immune system failed to eliminate it. We could have given up, but I'd come way too far, and I was way too close to getting my life back and potentially helping millions of women and men across the country to do the same thing. So instead of quitting, we began to look at ways to put the immune system into overdrive. The reason for this was that if the problem was that the immune system wasn't strong enough to destroy the virus, we just had to change all of that by making the immune system even stronger. And so Dr. Langwin and I went to work formulating a unique vitamin and supplement regimen that, when taken in the right amounts over the right period of time, would give the immune system the boost that it needed to win the fight against HSV-1 and HSV-2. We tested more than 120 different formulas with limited results until finally, on April 27, 2012, we finally discovered a unique combination of vitamins, minerals, and supplements that, when taken properly, turned the immune system into an invincible war machine that was so powerful and so strong it could destroy the herpes virus for good. And that very day, we got back the test results and saw that the virus had been destroyed in our lab samples. I became a human guinea pig and tried this herpes elimination system on myself. Honestly, following this scientifically designed program was so easy. It felt hard to believe that it had taken us 5 months to create it, or that no one else on the planet had figured it out before us. Every vitamin and supplement required to both draw the virus out and to make the immune system so strong that it could destroy it once exposed could be found at my local grocery store, and combined costs less than $100 to procure. I followed the daily schedule we created, taking the right dosage and combinations of these different natural supplements and vitamins, which contained the organic chemical compounds required to trigger intense reactions inside my body, but that were still natural, gentle, and safe, while taking new blood samples every single day. And finally, on May 14, 2012, almost 3 weeks exactly from when I'd been following the treatment protocol we'd established, I was overwhelmed with joy, with relief, with incredible gratitude, when my blood analysis for both HSV-1 and HSV-2 came back 100% negative. Imagine waking up in 21 days from now and knowing you will never have to worry about the herpes virus again, or to even think about it. Imagine getting your life back, or being able to date whoever you want, or never laying in bed, sick to your stomach because you have sores on and around your lips and have to go to work. Imagine never hearing people whisper and laugh behind your back, or feel heartbroken when a guy calls you a skank or a slut, even though it's completely untrue. Imagine never experiencing the burning, the itching, or the physical discomfort that comes from an outbreak. And imagine being free from the expensive, side effect-filled medications, things that make your hair fall out, that make you sick to your stomach, that are poisoning your kidneys. It is the greatest feeling in the world, something that I want every single person, all 20% of the Americans who are currently suffering from herpes, and all 10% of the Americans who suffer from both HSV-1 and HSV-2 to experience for themselves. That's why over the next 6 months, Dr. Langwin and I ran clinical trials of our natural, completely side effect-free herpes treatment. And out of the 479 test subjects, people who had either herpes type 1, herpes type 2, or even some combination of both, and who had been infected for anywhere from 3 months to 30 years. Every single one of them was able to eliminate all traces of the herpes virus from their body in less than 21 days. It was truly a miracle. And as Dr. Langwin and I recorded our findings and put them into an academic paper to be published in the leading medical journals in the world, we were dead certain that we were about to become famous beyond our wildest dreams. After all, we had figured out a way to completely destroy one of the most common and despised viral infections ever known to man. And we couldn't wait to get our findings out there to the world. Well, boy, were we in for a rude awakening. We submitted our findings to more than 15 of the country's leading medical journals. And every single time the response was the same. This is incredible, absolutely amazing, but we simply can't publish it. At first it made no sense. Why would these leading academics in the field of science and medicine purposely censor this information from getting into the hands of honest, deserving victims? But after having multiple private conversations with his peers and colleagues, including some of those responsible for publishing these journals, Dr. Langwin came to me with some extremely disappointing news. The reason all of these leading researchers and doctors wouldn't publish our findings, he said, was that they were absolutely terrified of being blackballed by the pharmaceutical industry. You see, it turns out that Big Pharma is the single largest funder of medical research in the United States. If you don't believe me, just look at who the 5 largest funders of the American Herpes Foundation are: GlaxoSmithKline, Roche Pharmaceuticals, BioVale Pharmaceuticals Incorporated, Novartis Pharmaceuticals, and Reliant Pharmaceuticals. These massive international conglomerates who are making a $60 billion per year industry have absolutely zero interest in finding a cure for herpes, or really any other diseases for that matter. And because they control the gold, they also get to make all of the rules, which includes choosing what medical research gets published and what medical research gets suppressed from ever reaching the public. Well, when I heard this, it made me want to punch a wall. Who the hell were these corporations to keep something so incredibly important, so vital from you? How could they control medicine and science like this, even at the expense of giving you your life back? It was depressing, but even more so, it was infuriating. Which is why I decided to say screw the corporations and their lapdogs in academic medicine and put our research and findings online for everyone to see. So for the next 2 months, Dr. Langwin and I worked around the clock to take our natural treatment program and break it down into a simple, easy-to-follow guide. We've called it the HSV Eraser. And like I mentioned, in clinical trials, all 479 of the individuals who used this method were completely free of their herpes within 3 weeks. Since then, HSV Eraser has helped 27,442 additional people across the world to destroy the herpes virus from their body. People like Ann Clavel of Memphis, Tennessee, who recently wrote to say, "Thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't even describe the feeling of relief I experienced when my doctor told me that the herpes virus had been completely eliminated from my body, or when I realized that I would never have to worry about another humiliating outbreak again. I am forever in your debt." Ann Clavel, Tennessee. And Kendra Mackey of Portsmouth, Maine, who says, "This program needs to be broadcasted to every single American. Keeping it from them is unacceptable. It would be like curing cancer and then not telling the world about it. Not only did I remove all traces of the herpes virus using your program, I did it in 17 days. Please tell me what I can do to help get the word out." Kendra Mackey, Maine. The HSV Eraser program is only available via this website that you're on right now. And here's exactly what's included. HSV Eraser is the result of a year of medical research, testing, and analysis. The program is broken up into 2 parts. In Part 1, you're given a list of the vitamins, supplements, and organic compounds required to uncloak the herpes virus. You probably won't have heard of a lot of these compounds and vitamins before, but they can all be found at your local grocery store or health food store and cost about $50 total. You're also given the specific quantities, times, and durations for taking each of the items listed. Some of them you'll take for all 3 weeks. Some of them you only take for the first week. So it's important that you do follow the schedule we've laid out. Part 1 lasts for 10 days, and by the end of it, you will have created the internal reaction needed to unbind the herpes from your cells, thus allowing your immune system to begin its attack. That brings us to Part 2 of the program. In this second phase, you're given a second group of vitamins and supplements to work to supercharge your immune system. Again, all of these vitamins and supplements can be found in your local grocery store or health food store and cost about $50 total. And just like in Part 1, you're being given a specific schedule to follow, where we will tell you in easy-to-understand steps what, when, and how you need to take your natural treatment protocol every day. Part 2 lasts between 11 and 13 days, and what's cool is that it's actually the easiest part. Think about herpes like a rat in your house or apartment that you're trying to catch. The hard part is getting it to come out from hiding and to walk into your trap. Once you do that, though, disposing of the rat and getting it out of your house forever is extremely easy. It's the same thing here. In part 1, you get your herpes out of hiding, and in part 2, you simply kill the virus and throw it out of your body forever. So given what's inside HSV Eraser, it should be pretty easy to see that there is nothing like this in the world, and that as long as Big Pharma remains a $60 billion per year industry, tragically, there never will be. That is why it is so important to me that I share Dr. Langwin and my program with as many people as possible. This is your one and only chance to completely and permanently eliminate the herpes simplex virus from your body. It's already worked for more than 24,000 people. It's completely natural, completely side effect free, and will cost you a total of $100 max to use. Even more crucially, it will get you your life back so that you never need to feel embarrassed, humiliated, or ashamed again. There are other medications out there, of course, but none of them actually destroys herpes. They just suppress it. Taking Valtrex or any similar drug is a lot like taking aspirin for a fever. In both cases, they may temporarily alleviate the symptoms, but they're not actually what kills the virus. Only your immune system can do that, which is why HSV Eraser is so incredibly powerful. Plus, just like aspirin, taking medications for your herpes have serious and potentially devastating long-term side effects. Do you want to always feel nauseated? Or be balding by the time you're in your early 30s? Or need a kidney transplant when you reach 50? Of course not. And yet if you continue down the path you're on, that's exactly where those medications will leave you. And given all of the above, and the fact that Dr. Langwin and I hold the only known cure for herpes simplex types 1 and 2 in the world, you can probably understand why we're planning to set the retail price of our treatment program at $399. When you think about it, that's actually a pretty incredible bargain, especially when you compare it to spending between $600 and $1,200 per year on medications, a minimum of $6,000 over the coming decade. And that's not to mention the fact that you'll never have to worry about another outbreak again as long as you live, or suffer from the embarrassment and physical discomfort that comes along with it, whether it's up and around the mouth or down there. So really, charging $399 is perhaps even too low. But like I've been saying from the beginning, this is not about making a fortune. We're going to leave that to the greedy, soulless, and heartless pharmaceuticals out there, and we'll let them live with their conscience. No, what this is about is you and your freedom. It's about getting HSV Eraser into the hands of as many women and men as possible so that they and you never have to feel humiliated, ashamed, or anxious again. It's about escaping your life sentence and being set free. It's about something that you absolutely deserve. It's for those reasons that we're not going to charge the full $399 we planned on, or $199, which is obviously a steal, or even $99, at which point we're practically giving this away. Instead, if you act today through this website and choose to get the HSV Eraser program for yourself and permanently remove the herpes virus from your body in the next 3 weeks, guaranteed, we're going to hand the program over to you. The full supplement and vitamin list, the daily schedule and quantity lists, everything, for just $39. To get it now, simply click the Add to Order button that's directly below this video. You'll then be taken to the 100% secure order page, where you'll complete your checkout. And as soon as you're finished, you'll receive access to the complete HSV Eraser program. From that site, you can view the program online, print it out, download it, or even view it on your smartphone or tablet, which means that in 5 minutes from now, you could be setting the timer on your herpes virus and counting down the 21 days until it's gone forever from your system. Plus, your investment today will be covered by a 60-day money-back guarantee. Here's how it works. You simply say, maybe, to HSV Eraser today. Then you have 2 full months to try the program for yourself. Take a trip to the grocery store and grab the different vitamins and supplements we tell you to. They cost less than $100, and buying them is a hell of a lot less embarrassing than picking up your prescription for Valtrex or a similar medication from the pharmacy. Then, simply follow our detailed guide and daily schedule over the next 21 days. And if your body is not completely herpes-free by the time your 3rd week is up, or if you're unsatisfied with your investment in HSV Eraser for any other reason whatsoever, simply send Dr. Langwin and I an email using the address we'll give you, and we'll immediately refund your entire purchase with no questions asked. In other words, you have absolutely zero risk with trying HSV Eraser today, which should make your choice to invest in our program a complete no-brainer. If you are going to make that decision, however, and you do want to destroy your herpes forever in the next 21 days, it's extremely important that you act right now by clicking the Add to Order button that you see below this video. Almost every single day, the lawyers from Big Pharma are threatening us with another lawsuit. They simply do not want you to get this information because they know that if we eliminate the need for their side effect-filled drugs, they'll lose billions of dollars in revenue. Obviously, we're putting this information on the web because we want to fight back against these evil corporations. But at the same time, we're just two doctors. We have some money, but not the tens of millions of dollars their legal departments have, which means that if they do take Dr. Langwin and me to court over this, we'll have no choice but to take down this presentation. Ultimately, the choice is yours. And there are really only two options. This presentation is almost over, and your first option is to just let it end and do nothing. But choose this, and you're going to have to live in constant fear of another outbreak. You're going to always have severely limited options in your love life, and be forced to tell any man who's interested in you that you have a dirty secret, something that 99% of the time will be an absolute deal breaker for him. And you're going to be stuck paying thousands of dollars a year for side effect-filled medications that may help hide your symptoms, but that will never actually eliminate the virus from your body, which means continuing to serve your life sentence, even though the side effects take their toll on your body and your hair begins to fall out in the shower and your kidneys begin to fail. You don't want this. And that brings us to your second option, which is to go ahead and try the HSV Eraser program for yourself right now by clicking the Add to Order button that's at the bottom of this video. Do that and you'll have instant access to the supplements vitamin list, the treatment schedule, and the daily guide. You'll permanently remove all traces of the herpes virus from your body in the next 21 days, guaranteed. And if you use this program correctly and don't completely destroy the virus, then you simply send us an email and we refund your entire investment that very same day. So ultimately the decision is yours. But is there really any choice at all? Why wouldn't you say maybe to this program right now, just like 27,442 women before you have? Why wouldn't you try this risk-free for the next 21 days? Something that has been clinically proven to completely destroy both HSV-1 and HSV-2 in every single person who tries it. Can you think of any reason? If not, then go ahead and click the Add to Order button that's below, and I'll see you in the special members area of our website in a few seconds from now. Thank you for watching this presentation. This has been Dr. Christine Bueller. Are you still here? That's okay. You probably have some questions, right? A lot of people do after watching this presentation, and it's perfectly normal. What I'll do for you right now is answer some of the most common questions Dr. Langwin and I get, so that you can feel entirely comfortable with your risk-free investment in HSV Eraser today. How is it possible that HSV Eraser can permanently destroy my herpes, especially when there are so many medications out there that don't? The secret to why HSV Eraser works is the two-part approach we take. In part 1, we separate the herpes virus from the cells in your body. That's crucial because normally, herpes is able to cloak itself in these cells so that the immune system can't attack it. In part 2, we use a combination of chemical compounds that are found in vitamins and supplements to put your immune system into hyperdrive. By doing this, we give your immune system the ammunition it needs to go nuke the virus, thereby completely destroying it from your body. The reason HSV Eraser works while pharmaceutical medications don't is that those medications are only designed to push back the virus during an outbreak. So in other words, they're like putting a Band-Aid on a cut. They'll stop it from bleeding, but they don't actually cause the cut to be healed. If there's a cure for herpes, why have I never heard of it before? Sadly, it's because academic and clinical research is financed almost exclusively by the pharmaceutical companies. As such, they have a complete monopoly on which information and treatments reach the public. This is absolutely outrageous and a travesty. That is why Dr. Langwin and I created this website, so we could share the truth with the public and help as many Americans as possible to permanently delete herpes simplex from their body. Who will this program work for? HSV Eraser works for both HSV-1 and HSV-2. Both of these viruses contain something called ICP47, which is the evil protein that makes your herpes invisible to your immune system. Because both HSV-1 and HSV-2 contain this protein, we're able to target it with a combination of natural chemical compounds. That allows us to draw out the herpes virus and let your immune system do its job by destroying it. Additionally, in clinical trials, HSV Eraser was effective on both those who had herpes for a few months and those who had herpes for several decades. What happens after I hit the Add to Order button? Once you hit the Add to Order button that's at the bottom of this screen, you'll be going to our secure checkout page. Then after entering your basic info, you'll be taken to the special Patients Only area, where you'll get immediate access to the entire program, including the supplement vitamin list and the daily treatment schedule. Everything can be viewed right from your computer, smartphone, or tablet, or you can download them to your computer or print everything out. How long will it really take me to get results? In clinical trials, the average time it took to remove the herpes virus from an individual's system was 21 days. In order to get these results, however, you must follow our program exactly. Just like with a diet, if you cheat, you won't get the results you want. What are the terms of that guarantee again? Once you've chosen to get the HSV Eraser program, you have a full 60 days to try it out for yourself. If for any reason you're not satisfied, simply send an email to the address we give you in the patient's area, and we'll instantly refund your entire purchase with no questions asked. How long is this program going to be made available for? It really depends. Like I mentioned earlier, the major pharmaceutical companies have been calling us almost daily, threatening to sue. As soon as that happens, we'll probably have no choice but to take down this website. We don't want to, but we simply don't have the money to fight against their multi-million-dollar army of lawyers. So if you want to try HSV Eraser for yourself risk-free, you really have to act fast. And how do I get my hands on this herpes treatment and elimination program again? Simply click the Add to Order button you see below the screen. In less than 60 seconds from the time you hit that button, you'll already have access to the entire program. So go ahead,